kind of bring this into current focus with what's on the news. And I don't know if you're watching the news or listening to the news or reading it online or whatever, but I mean, last night at whatever time it was, the next 5 anthrax cases in Florida broke out, and then the Culver City Sony breakout is unfolding, and then, of course, the letter from Trenton, New Jersey, mailed to the 33rd floor of the GE building, and the lady that's infected in New York City, and on it goes. And it's almost like we're reading a Left Behind book, doesn't it? I mean, reading the newspaper is kind of like, is this real or is this a prophecy thing? I mean, is it really happening in America right now? The plagues, the biological warfare that was just kind of like unbelievable. It's happening before our eyes. Let's talk about that in biblical context, because as the anthrax cases are swelling across the country, and as we're starting to read about the deadly legions of biological weapons that may have already made their way into our country unknown to us and have started their work, and all those fearsome chemicals that can kill an individual on contact, which are some of the agents available to terrorists. As the newspapers report the widespread effect on the areas touched. Have you read about what's going on in South Florida? Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people standing in line at the health department, demanding vaccinations, demanding antidotes, demanding from hospitals that they get this Cipro or whatever, this antibiotic that stops the initial effects of anthrax. New York City, and now California, and Reno, I guess, Nevada. There's a growing dread and panic as people are becoming increasingly afraid of getting infected themselves, be it anthrax or whatever. If they only knew that they already were infected with something far worse than anthrax, with something far worse than botulism or VHF. Do you know what VHF is? That's what just broke out in Maui. That's viral hemorrhagic fever. That means people sweat and cough up blood, and if untreated, they die. I mean, there's something worse than that. There's something worse than the plague and anthrax and sarin gas and chlorine or whatever else people invent to try and attack us with. And you know what that is? That everyone's already infected with? That there's no panic about this morning? The incurable sickness that's brought on by sin, or the SIN virus. No one has ever survived it. People are going to survive anthrax. People can survive these other things if treated soon enough or if wearing protective gear. But no one has ever survived the sin virus. There should be a panic to find the antidote for that. And that's the context we need to think about this morning. Because the most deadly virus is not terrorist launch. It's a sin virus. A biological weapon can kill anyone, but so does a sin virus. And there's no cure for full-blown biological warfare. I mean, once they start blowing that stuff out, if you're not prepared, there's no cure. But the good news is there is a cure for the sin virus, which is far more deadly and far more fearsome. Salvation is the cure for the sin virus, and God himself had to provide the cure. In fact, where I grew up is the only place in the whole country that makes anthrax vaccinations, in Lansing, Michigan. The bad news is they haven't made one since 1998. They're not making them right now. The good news about the sin virus is the antidote, the cure, has been made once and for all, and it's available this morning. Well, the irreducible minimum of salvation is what I want to show you this morning. Look at 2 Corinthians 5:21, because what we're examining this morning is if you're going to protect yourself against the plague of sin, just as you have to be sure with anthrax. You notice they don't give people with anthrax Advil. I mean, it wouldn't do them any good. They die of anthrax. They have to give them the proper antidote. And so they culture them, they swab them, they do all types of tests to find out if they really have anthrax. Because there's only one method of treating it. And you have to have the right method to have it affect the problem and target the deadly legions of this bacteria. So we need to examine whether or not the antidote that is being offered for sin is what we're truly believing in. That's what I want to show you from 2 Corinthians 5:21. Because the Scriptures tell us that God offers to forgive all of someone's sins forever. He'll forgive all of anyone's sins forever that will come to Him. See, that's what the greatest news is of the universe. The good news is not that God wants to fix our marriages or make us happy. The good news is that we were born alienated from a holy God, which has the price of eternal damnation, and that can end. That price can be paid. That virus can be removed. Salvation can be ours, and we